create the microphone that the big boys won't take, and they won't be afraid to touch your mark. Create your own stage and don't let anyone take your microphone.
Welcome to Daily Power Boost, Ignite Your Potential, the podcast where your transformation begins. I'm Sean Michael, and each day I'll bring you quick, impactful insights and action steps to fuel your personal and professional growth. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or someone ready to break limits and ignite greatness, this is your daily power boost to crush obstacles, stay focused, and awaken the extraordinary potential within you. Because remember, greatness begins within. Let's go. Welcome back to Daily Power Boost, Beyond the Boost. Today's guest embodies what I call identity in motion. Paula Washington, MBA and MS, is a strategist, speaker, and the author of the Encore playbook, Bold Strategies for Women Redefining Their Career. Their next chapter, sorry. After decades of success in corporate and consulting leadership, she realized that her next chapter wasn't about doing more, it was about becoming more. Her work helps high-achieving women rewrite the story of what's next with purpose, power, and peace. So if you've ever wondered whether it's too late to reinvent yourself or too early to change direction, this conversation will remind you that the encore isn't a comeback, it's a calling. Paula, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Sean. I love that introduction, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Excellent. Me too. I'm excited. We had a nice chat before. We resonated a lot. We had a lot of through lines, I'll say, that we vibed on.
Yes.
So to open, from looking at your history and talking with you, you've lived a powerful, full first act. Corporate strategist, consultant, entrepreneur. What was the moment when you realized this next chapter wasn't just a career move, but it was actually an identity shift?
Well, that happened in 2020. My cousins and I all lost our last parent. So from ages 89 to 97. And for about 6-7 months, we had memorial services every month. And that was my mom. I was taking care of her. Our older sister, who was 97, she passed in November. So I kind of pulled back for a while and, came out of the public eye, so to speak, and really started to look at my mortality and like, okay, God, what are you going to do with me with the time I have left? Because I can live 30, 40 years. They all gave us the baton. They all lived a full life. There was no sadness in that they didn't complete this or that. And so I'm looking at, okay, so my heritage from my great-grandmother being an entrepreneur, going to school and graduating cum laude in 1894 when we weren't even supposed to do that. And then her daughter going to Juilliard in New York, becoming a concert pianist and a real estate broker, and that wasn't supposed to happen. My mom being a manager in a branch at Citibank in New York, she was the only female, period, other than the tellers. That's not supposed to happen. So I'm like, okay, well, what's not supposed to happen for me? We gotta have something. And so I had thought, Encore had been in the back of my mind for years. And I said, let me take my strategic life plan, my business strategies, put them all together in a book and create a framework. And that framework is called Encore. And E is for exit with attention. And it's for navigating the new after the crazy and the chaos we cause, or that happens, called life. And then we have N is always wait a minute. C is for commit, connection, and communication. And without being committed to who you are, who you see yourself evolving into, your communication isn't clear. And if it's not clear, you're not going to draw authentic relationships. So the tools that I've created allow you to actually hone in on your true identity so that it flows naturally out. And then O is for opportunity, be able to recognize. Some people can't recognize opportunities, create opportunities and align them with the plan. R is for relevance. And that is so important in these days and times to be relevant, understand where you're going, why you're, who you're talking to, what it's about, and create realistic goals that resonate with your niche market. And then E is for your standard of excellence, your personal trademark. What are you the go-to person for? I mean, people know they call me 2, 3 in the morning. I come up with a business plan, tell them how to make money. Package that whole thing in 5 minutes. I mean, that's just my thing. I was talking to somebody today, to a CEO, and he was telling me he wanted to change directions. And I gave him like a plan in 10 minutes. He was like, and I was like, well, you have a gift and I am. And this is the thing that excites me. So, that whole framework, whether it doesn't matter who you are, whether it's a man or a woman, the reason I get it toward women because of the caregiving, because of parenting, because of all of the transitions we as women go through. But primarily the framework can be used by anyone. And so that was the pivoting moment for me. Once I woke up and I realized, wait a minute, I have a lot left, that I want to have fun doing business, helping people, making money, and living life the way I'm supposed to.
Right. And can you share what the realization, when realization, what was the cost, either professionally and or emotionally?
You said the cost?
The cost when you like realize like, okay, transition time, wake up call.
Mortality will do it. I mean, you don't even have you blink your eye and mortality is there.
Yeah.
So the cost of it was courage. Do I want to do it at this stage of my life, in my late 60s? Do I want to do this again? How much do I want to do? How little do I want to do? What should I be doing and why? And as I began to think about that, I looked at the fact that, yes, I want to do it again, but on my own terms. I don't have anything or anybody in front of me that I have to take care of or do anything for. So let me have fun playing with my toys, which was my new book, and gathering all that information, which I drove my editor crazy because I'm not good at self-editing. However, I did get that last draft and he was very happy. Anyhow, that was it. It was the courage to do it again. It was the courage to say, wait, I can't punk out now. I mean, like, my inheritance is clear.
Right.
During a time that they weren't supposed to. Well, my time, we can do whatever we want. We do have challenges and barriers and things, but it's not like it was.
Yeah, but I think there's still the barrier, Paula. When it's making the shift at 60, people might look at you like, what are you doing? Like, you're gearing up. We're all gearing down and you're gearing up. Like, are you crazy?
Well, and that's true because people don't understand the best. As you mature, your latter days are your best because you have the wisdom. I have more energy, more wisdom now than I did when I was younger. So it would have been wasted then. Now I'm very strategic and intentional about everything I do. I'm very clear about what I do. And when you look at people being successful after in their 50s and 60s, it's because of the maturity. And yes, we can travel and do all these things we want to do. We can include that and put that inside of our plan and do it and enjoy life because that's part of life. But where before we were given a script and we had to follow that script. And then every time it fell apart, then we had to figure it out again. That was not the direction.
Right. Well, and actually in my research for my upcoming book, Reborn at 50, The Rebellion for Those Who Refuse to Fade, I found out that a founder or a startup entrepreneur at 50 is 2 times more likely to succeed over a founder at 25 or 30.
Absolutely.
And if you went to 60,
oh,
it's even more. It's like exponential. And like you said, it's experience. It's that trained wisdom that, you make very calculated, intentional decisions, not fly by the seat of my pants decisions like a youngster might make, as well as the connections, the network you built over your career, your life, that can open opportunities that younger people wouldn't have access to. They'd have to go searching for them. They're sitting in your garden, per se.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think this is great because I believe a lot of listeners and leaders that are listening are at a threshold like this where they feel maybe a little nudge, but they might be afraid to let go of who they've been to this point.
That's so true because I've met with a couple of, actually 2 or 3 CEOs in the last couple of weeks. And one of them, he forgot because he was so absorbed in his roles that he had forgotten about him. So as we began to peel away that the layers and all of that and bring him back to his focus, he realized, yes, there is more to life than this, and I'm going to do it. He remembered what that vision and dream was. So now we can create an exit strategy for him to make that transition. Then also for the businesses that he runs to be able to make that transition as well. So it's going to be quite the feat to make that transition, but he will do it now because he remembers who he was. Then there are others.
It's rare, right?
Yeah, he's aware and he remembered the emotion of the joy of what he wanted to do. And a lot of times when people forget who they are, or they never really truly discovered it because their whole identity was wrapped up in something else, a job, whether they were an athlete, whether they were a veteran. You go into a system that you're indoctrinated in and you don't remember or never set up who you really were because it was all the roles in your life. And that was one of the reasons I wrote Encore, because especially for women, we were told go to college, get married, have children, work 30 years, and retire. That was our life and to serve everybody else. Well, when that falls apart, because it's a new era, what happens now? You have to
Oh,
figure out who you are. And so all of those things that we may have been raised with may have worked for them, but it won't work for us because now you have to know who you are in order to move the needle in your own life and draw those relationships and opportunities that you were created to serve and to receive.
right. And you kind of have to be, checked. And like identity, we had to a certain point, got us where we were. Good or bad, it got us to that point.
That's
And
right.
the survival identity, or it's following the journey that we didn't even choose,
Correct.
right? It was imposed by society or
Yeah,
family or culture, and we just followed it.
that's it.
But,
Because we did what we were told. In, in the baby boomer generation, we were told what to do. We did it. That's it. And it wasn't all bad because I wouldn't be the woman I am. I would not be the businesswoman I am had I not worked in those corporations that I worked for, had I not had that work experience and the education that I've had. I've been blessed with really good education and some of the best companies in the world. And so that was part of my training. And a lot of times people resent or are embarrassed about their journey, no matter what position you had, whether it doesn't matter where you are in a business, a company, or whatever you're doing. That's part of your journey for where you're going, not where you are. And so celebrate that while you're there, because when you start to see where you're going, that's another level of courage. That's another level of commitment. That's another level of intentionality that you're going to have to go forward in. And even if you might be shaking in your boots, you get it on the go. That's another thing. We learn with wisdom that you don't get the whole plan. You get it as you go. And we know how to pivot real quick. What? Look, we'll flip it that way. We'll flip it this way. We're really good at that because in corporate in years ago, we were very agile, even though we were in a structured environment, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, and as you were sharing, I was thinking of the quote, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I can get the gist, by Winston Churchill, right? The courage is not the absence of fear.
That's right.
And I am a strong believer, and I teach, you can't think your way into confidence.
No, you cannot.
Confidence, courage comes from motion. Got to get moving to get those. You can think and formulate and strategize all you want, but until you shift identity and start moving, it's going to be always out of reach, right?
Absolutely. Because one of the things that I've learned about confidence for myself personally is uh, when I was younger, I would kind of beat myself over the head because I should have confidence. I should this, I should that. And I realized, no, you can't get confidence until you do it. And if it's something new, writing this book and changing my brand and going in a new direction, yeah, I was a little shaky about some things, how it's going to be received. I haven't been out there in a while, know how it's going to work or not work or what have you. But I know who I am. And I know that let's go with it, you know?
And that's the foundation that you need to build on. Is build that solid foundation of who am I?
Exactly. That
So you
identity.
can grow from there.
And you grow from there. And what I've done in my programs and my coaching and when I work with individuals, I've created assessment tools that make it very clear who they are, even though they don't like it. They want to be at this number instead of that number. And the numbers don't mean anything. That's what people don't understand. Those are just there as gauges. They don't really mean anything. You could be a 10, it doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, they think they are here when they're not. And I had a gentleman just recently, he was, his assessment came out that he was emerging innovator, but he was not an innovator. He was highly insulted. And I said, well, why are you upset? You're on your way there. You're not there yet. When you get to my stage, then you can say that, but you're not here. I mean, you're on your way. You're doing pretty good. You set all this stuff up. You got it together. Now let's see you make it work because you haven't done it before. So you can't say you're an innovator, until you've innovated something. And I started laughing and he was like getting a little insulted and then the light bulb went off and he started laughing too. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's so funny because I love to work with people when they get it, and when they start to say, yeah, I agree with myself.
Once they get past the gut punch, right?
Exactly. I accept me as I am right now in this minute, no matter what's going on or not. I'm here and I accept myself and I like this. Yeah.
And that's very appropriate because one of my assessments is called the identity mirror.
Oh, great.
It totally fits what you were saying. Like, when a coach or somebody kind of says, yeah, here's your assessment. You're an emerging leader. You're an emerging innovator. It's like, what? Sometimes you look in the mirror and, you don't like what you see.
Yes.
And the transfer is do you look at it and go, sucks? Or do you say, okay, what can I do to fix it? Right? I stand in the mirror and I'm like, getting a little wide there. Okay, better watch what I eat, get moving some more, do something to change it. You use a term, encore champion.
Yes.
And I love that phrase. From your definition, what does that mean? What are they championing? What are they releasing?
What they're releasing is the fear to stand on center stage and receive the applause of well-deserved and well-earned honor. And what I'm championing is your courage to go and stand center stage. I had a mentor many years ago, Floyd Roberts Cosmetics, the Vanilla company. Anyway, and she said, Paula, create the microphone that the big boys won't tip, and they won't be afraid to touch your mark. Create your own stage, and don't let anyone take your microphone. And what I loved about her, she taught me niche marketing because her products were made for women of color, and she was Jewish. So that was a very interesting combination. And back when she was doing it in the 60s and so forth, it was quite controversial. And her teaching me niche marketing and teaching me how women back then really had it hard in business, especially she was in the cosmetics business. And that was tough. And I learned, and how I met her, I was at an event. I had brought my business, but I'd always bring my business plan like a lunch sheet because I never know who I'm going to meet. And so she was speaking. I was in the workshop with her. I went up and I showed her what I created, which were her Roberts rules for entrepreneurship. And then she began to mentor me. And from that day to this, I stand and I hold my microphone. And on the book cover is a woman standing center stage receiving the applause.
And that's so powerful, right? Instead of trying to, a lot of people are like, working like, how do I get on this stage or how do I get on that stage? And I've heard it again and again and again. Build your own stage.
Build your own. Create your own.
And create your own or like create your own niche that, I just heard a story about 1980s. World was different, right? We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the,
Remember?
Launching a business.
Yeah.
Especially like an insurance business was a lot more work. So this group, I don't know exactly who it was, but they wanted to launch up an insurance company. And there's no way they could compete with the big boys like Allstate and Farmers and all of those. So they looked around and they realized there's one industry, rodeo clowns. They need insurance. Nobody will insure them. So they started the Rodeo Clown Insurance Company of America. And they eventually booked every rodeo clown in the entire country. And then they noticed, well, a lot of rodeo clowns also work as stage magicians. So they started they expanded into stage magicians.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and a lot of stage magicians, they're also stage hypnotists. So they expanded into that. And a lot of stage hypnotists practice hypnotherapy with clients. So they insured them. So they started with one niche and got dialed in, and then they layered on another and another and another and another. And I think that's one thing. You mentioned niche, and today I struggled with it myself. Somebody said, you need a niche. And initially I went, I tensed up. I'm like, what? Like I could prove anybody. Most entrepreneurs have been there, right? But the realization that I came to with niche is start somewhere. Who are you talking to?
Exactly.
You can have multiple angles, a website for this niche, and then add a new, once you master that, add your extra niche and have a different channel that people go down.
But the key is to master one thing first.
Yeah.
Instead of having all these 50 things. I was at a meeting, and this young lady has a tech company. She's AI, all of this. And now I knew that she had worked with one particular product. But by the time she came back to the meeting, she had 4 or 5 things she's doing. And I'm like, wait a minute. How are you going to serve anybody? You got all these different things going on. It's extremely confusing. And she's going to figure it out when she burns out, because that's what happens. But the thing is to master one thing that your market will love to expand to or be glad to refer you to, and then build that. And then you build it. I'm getting ready to do a talk tomorrow. I created this from wows to wins, closing 2025 with impact. And so tomorrow we're going to be talking about the exit strategy, and we're talking about the 70-30 rule. And what I share with my clients is the 70% in your core business, 30% in your emerging markets, and how to expand and develop those emerging markets alongside your business without losing your core income, so that you can establish other revenue streams, and even possibly that can elevate as to another income stream of its own. And so I'm going to be sharing those tools that I'm sharing with individuals on tomorrow. But that's one thing that's really has to be clear. We have to know who your core market is. Like the rodeo clowns. That was perfect. They got the whole industry, the whole circus industry. Everybody in the circus or entertainment on the levels that they were engaging with, they got the whole industry. It doesn't matter. It's first to market, right? Doesn't matter what market it is, but you got to be first to market.
Right. And hone out, because 8 billion people on this earth, and I've seen it again and again and again, other coaches, consultants, etc., who at the core, they're saying the exact same thing as I do.
Mm-hmm.
But they're bringing their perspective, their experience, their way of saying it, you know, and because I'm not the right flavor for everybody. Not everybody likes vanilla.
No, and
People like
everybody,
chocolate, others like strawberry, and some like rum raisin. Who knows?
everybody has a
So,
fragrance for the people they're called to serve.
it's-
My audience knows my voice and they know I'm the real deal. The audience I'm called to. Your audience may not be resonate with my voice. No problem. Because it's not my audience. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to create my own microphone. So that doesn't I'm not concerned at this stage in life. I really don't care what people think, how they feel about anything, or what I'm doing and how I do it. It doesn't really matter. Because I am focused on what I'm doing and living my life the way I want to and owning my own space.
amen. So this is a perfect segue point to my next point. Fear, right? A lot of people, you basically just shared fear. You eat it for breakfast.
Well, now, I just
Now, just you eat it for breakfast.
years ago, that was it'll be a whole nother story because I had to grow up. And as we mature and if we do the work and if we're committed to ourselves and we come clean, as they say, if you come clean and you have that accountability, if you need therapy, go for it. Whatever it is, you have a coach, you have a mentor, you have people that hold you accountable. And then your own conscience, if you listen to that and your intuition, you're going to grow up and you're going to learn how to, like a baby walks, they stand up, they fall down, and then all of a sudden, when they realize they didn't fall, they get excited. That's what we're doing. We're all growing up. And it doesn't matter how old you are. We're all growing up, trying something new that we never did before. And we're having fun with it. You know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll make an adjustment. Maybe that wasn't the direction, you know, but fear is a real thing and it's not something to ignore. And you positively can't think it off. You have to walk it out. Do it. Shaking. I remember the first time I stood on stage and they gave me the microphone. It was at my church. And they gave me the microphone. I was supposed to do a leadership conference. And I didn't know I was going to be asked to go up there. And they handed me the microphone. I'm standing there. I'm shaking, so I dropped it. I kept dropping it. I was so nervous. I said, well, it's one thing for me to go work at a company and stand up there and do presentations all day as a trainer. But, you know, the church is, that's a holy thing. You know, what am I doing here?
Right.
And so I thought they were going to let me sit down, and they didn't. The person came and held the microphone and said, so weird, go ahead. And once I started speaking, it started flowing. I took the microphone with him, started walking across the stage, and it was off to the races. But initially, I was like,
Well, and actually at the summit, I was noticing because I watch people big time, body language, everything. It's who I am. It's part of my emotional X-ray vision of being able to interact or watch somebody or listen to them speak and not just hear their words, but hear what's happening underneath. So some of the speakers, like one, and he's the CEO of the company.
Mhm.
He's zipping across the stage like this. Like, I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Like, and I'm just going, I can tell that he's nerves. And then the next one after him, you could hear it in voice. You know, he's typical, he's a founder, but he's dressed like Steve Jobs, like with t-shirt and blue jeans. And, you know, the previous guy's in a full suit, you know, because he's the CEO of the largest bank in the area. At first, just like you said, I could feel the nerves that he was dealing with. But after a few minutes, he got his stride and he just rolled with it.
exactly. And so there is, you do it scared. You do it shake it. It's okay. Because after a while, you're going to kick in. And your mind is going to, you know, I gave someone this tool this morning about overthinking. Because he kept telling me, oh, you know, I'm a pessimist, I'm an introvert, I'm a this, I'm a that. I said, stop with the labels. Just stop. Your mind is overthinking and you're wearing yourself out. And I said, you're not going to wear me out in this.
Your mind is running away with you.
Exactly. I said, stop it all. Let me tell you something. Put some music on, sit down, do the assessment, and put it the next week. Because we are not going to go through all of your idiosyncrasies and that's your head talking because you're afraid. And we got down to the root of trust. I said, you have to learn how to trust your intuition. And until you learn how to trust yourself,
Trust.
until you can trust yourself, none of that stuff matters. I'm not interested in the imposter syndrome and all that crazy stuff. And I'm not saying that those aren't real things. I'm saying the bottom line is with you. The buck stops with you. You got to trust yourself. You got
I say that. Who do you think you are? Self-contact.
Yes.
Do you trust yourself? Self-trust, self-leadership.
Exactly.
Okay? You want to be a good leader on the outside. Everything starts inside. Take care of the inner, the outer will align.
Exactly. And especially for entrepreneurs, especially the younger ones, or the ones newer in business, I will say, because they think they could come out of corporate and just run this business. No, because it's not the same industry. And an entrepreneur is born. You just can't decide one morning you're going to wake up and do it, because a true entrepreneur, like the head of FedEx, 13 times bankrupt, that's a real entrepreneur, a real visionary. Colonel Sanders is real visionary. So many people like that, real visionaries. We are sold out to the vision, and we will ride that thing till the wheels fall off the car because we know it's going to work. We just haven't quite got the formula yet. And that's the difference in commitment.
Right. And I look at it like this, Paula. Most of us, especially if we were in corporate, it's push, 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 right? It's all about push.
Exactly.
Really making the shift to entrepreneur, you cannot live on push. You've got to pull that vision, that future, that why so intense. It's like the largest magnet on planet Earth, just moving along, and you couldn't quit if you tried.
No. But the alignment is understanding where you are in the pull.
Right.
I see this, I know I'm going there, but I'm here now, and I need to figure out how to walk at my pace to get there instead of rushing trying to get there and trying to push like we did in corporate. Because when I came out of corporate, and I like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have anybody helping me. Oh, I got to do all of this. That's a different thing. The conversation, the language is different. You have to learn a different language. You have to also learn how they do business. Entrepreneurs do business very different than people in corporate, and they have to understand that. And then the communication in that you want to close it, you want to line everything up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't go that way with us, because the way business goes, it doesn't line up that quickly. Sometimes it does. That's a great deal when it does. When we can get it all done, boom, yes. But most of the time, you're going to have to nurture that for a minute before you can get.
Yeah, it's kind of like wandering lost in the forest before you find your way out. Sometimes you're gonna make a wrong turn, and I love the meme that shows what people think success looks like, and it's a nice linear path. And it says what success really is, or what entrepreneur really is. And it's a line that's just going everywhere. Just like over here, and you feel like you went all the way back to the beginning, started again. And
exactly. It's like a garden. You put all these seeds in there, and then you don't remember what seed you planted. And then you wait for which one is going to come up. What one do I need to water today? And this and that and the other thing. It's so hilarious. But it's the most joyful, most rewarding experience, because it's something that you burst from within. And no one and nothing can burst your bubble when it comes from inside out.
Well, and someone had success, in career, corporate, whatever, for years, I would say they're not afraid of failure because they've proven to themselves, the world, they can pivot, they can adapt, they can learn, they can grow. What they fear is irrelevance.
Exactly. What they feel is irrelevance, and what they fear is timing.
Right.
because they're used to snapping their fingers and making it happen. And you can't snap your fingers here. Yeah, there's no magical wand gonna work. We don't have any
So,
fairy dust that's gonna go, "Boop." Not happening. Yeah, you're right.
well, and yeah, and I think it's a matter of shifting from traditional fear-driven ambition,
Mhm.
right? I was on with Leslie Flower. She does a lot of talk on, Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow
Mhm.
Rich. And she talks about the 6 ghosts of fear. And she said the same thing. Like, I don't like the old false evidence appearing real, because the fear is real for that person, whatever fear it is, for them it
It's
is
real.
100%
It's
real.
real. 100% real.
It's as real as a grizzly bear standing outside their bedroom door.
Exactly.
But, we're afraid of judgment and criticism. We're afraid of poverty. We're afraid of death and old age. All of those things are very real fears. And so a lot of times, especially like you said, if you're switching from a job, a career, to entrepreneurship, and the fear is like, well, if I don't make this work, I might be on the street.
Yeah,
I'll be a failure.
I'll be a failure. I'll be on the
My
street.
family will look down on me, or my friends will look down on me. And it's a matter of shifting to what I call identity-driven
Exactly.
ambition, right? Purpose-driven ambition. You're like, you know who you are, you know where you're going, and purpose and vision, everything pulls. There's not the pressure like I gotta make this work, or I can't pay the mortgage this month, or any of that. And I think a lot of people often get confused with movement versus meaning.
That's true. They do. They don't know the difference.
They're so busy proving.
Right, because they are performance driven and they're people pleasers. When you're in an environment, in a corporate environment, you're people pleasing all day long because you're trying to sell yourself to keep your job, to get paid, to get promotion, and do that.
Right. And it doesn't matter what level you're at.
It doesn't
Entry level all the way up.
all the
Only
way.
press somebody.
Yeah, everybody, the gerbils,
Shareholders, board
and
members.
there's everybody. Gerbils on wheel. They're all on the same wheel, spinning, spinning, spinning until they spin out. But in this environment, the only thing you have to do is allow yourself to grow up as a human being and in your own personal leadership. And the business will grow because you're growing. When a business doesn't grow, it's because the leader is not growing or was not accepting the truth about the direction they need to go. Whatever it is, it solely rests on that business owner. And that's why I love working with business owners, because of that fact, because they take the risk, they'll do what they have to do. And then when they realize or recognize something, the majority of them will make the change because they're committed.
Right. Yeah. It's never about, not about strategy.
No,
Not about
not.
business. Business plans are useful and important, but not, like you said, it's about the guy at the helm, the gal at the helm, right? The person who started the business, who's running the top of the business. Any bottlenecks, almost every time that I've seen. I say almost every time because I don't know everything. But majority, it's that leader is the bottleneck.
Exactly. I had a client.
They're not accepting the reality, their limits or whatever.
And then they don't know their blind spots.
Right.
I had a client, she built a very successful business media company, and she wanted to net 7 figures instead of gross. And she couldn't quite figure out why she couldn't had a great team, had a great staff, da, da, da. So I went and did an assessment. I said, well, the problem isn't them, it's you. So I said, well, let me lead them. If you do whatever it is you do, let me get them reorganized and what have you. So I did. I restructured everything, trained them all, gave them manuals, all that kind of stuff. And they were off to the races. They were so happy because they were independent and they could do what they were created to do with minimal management. And so when she realized, oh, they don't need me, I said, yes, they need you because you're the visionary. You just got to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And then I started working with her Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Oh, that's why this. Yeah, because these are your blind spots and you don't see them.
Right.
And
And
if
they're
you were
blind
going,
spots because it's not literally, it's like in a car,
mm-hmm,
right? There are blind spots, whatever vehicle you drive. There are actions we take as drivers. I know that's a blind spot, so let me look over there. And, a lot of times with business owners or team leads,
mm-hmm.
managers, directors, they just paid attention. All the problems they're having with the people, they're mirrors, right? They're showing you
Exactly.
where your gaps are if you just pay attention.
And and the accountants and all of the team
Right.
flipping because you don't see it. You're trying to micromanage them, and they're like, or they're checking out. And so she realized it, and when she did that next tax season, they doubled on that 7 figure because she took her hands away and she did what she does well is lead the business and sales outside of the company. Like she wasn't there maybe once a week, where before she was trying to be there every day and it was making them nuts. And the less money they were making, the more she was there and the more they drove them crazy. So her thing was, well, let me go set up another territory. Let me go do this, that, and the other. And she trusted them. Ha ha. Trust your employee. Trust your team. You hired them for a reason. Let them prove themselves.
Right.
And I was so happy for all of them. And they're doing very successful. They're in 3 different states, doing very, very well. And for a business owner to have staff in other states, it's huge. To do that well, to hire staff, because it's not a big enterprise. It's a small business. But to do that well, to hire staff that and maintain that staff through COVID and various other things, and all of those families that are represented in those 3 different states, that's huge.
Right. And because a stat in my research
Mhm.
recently was 80% of mid management hires, over 80%, are wrong.
Right.
Bad decisions. And with a work, environment where over half of people leaving a job to get a new job, it's because of the boss. Like people
It
are,
is.
they don't,
Every time.
they're leaving because of the boss, and boss management is burning out because they don't have the resources and training they need, especially at that middle level. And again, you go to the top, to the business owner, and when that business, it's just like us, right? When we make that little internal change,
Mhm.
the rest of our world outside, relationships,
Yeah.
business, happiness, joy, all of it, it falls into line. And it's the
Right.
same thing with a business. You find the core, alter the core so that it's operating the way it needs to, the way it should, like you said, in its lane. Let the people you brought on to do what you hired them to do, and everything just falls into place.
It does. And it's so nice when it's a well-oiled machine like that. I just love it. I get excited. So many, we all both have case studies for so many clients that we work with to see them excel in those areas and to see them grow. And then even at the encore stage, we may not want to have a big business. We want to have a fluid business from a cash flow perspective, but we may not want to have a large, big business because we don't want to manage all of that. It's fun because we could always contract out. We could always do other things. But knowing what you want at that encore stage can determine the direction of where you go, how you go, the energy you're going to expend, and the expertise you need to bring to the table. If you want to have this company, but you want to travel, then you make sure you clone yourself so that you can do what you want to do.
Exactly, because I saw that in a relative who owns a very successful externally 7-figure business, and they came to visit us in Guatemala. 8 days. 8 days. I'm not talking about a huge amount of time. 8 days like this on the phone.
Yeah,
Because nothing functioned without her intervention.
exactly.
And I scratched. I said, you don't own a business. You work in your business. You have your own personal job.
Right.
You're the owner and you're an employee.
Exactly.
We're working, as my mentor says, are you working in the business or on the business?
Exactly. Exactly. Or for the business. Yeah, because that's the difference. And they don't realize that it doesn't look good. I remember when I was going to see my business coach, and I'm all going to tell him all the busy stuff I'm doing. I'm going to be important. I'm going to be CEO. I'm going to be important. And he says, Paula, why are you wasting your time on a $10,000 problem when you're supposed to be solving $100,000 solution? What do you do? Oh, but I was at, what are you doing? And I have that program. I launched it out again this year. Yeah, actually, about last month, I launched that out again. You're going to see it out there. But it was such a key pivoting moment because he quantified it down to dollars and cents and made it very clear how much money I'm losing fooling around with stuff I don't need to be involved in.
Right. But that shows that we all have blind spots.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's very important to get an outside perspective that can think, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that? Like you're spinning your wheels over here and you're losing all these opportunities or all this or all that.
And then when he quantified it, he said, so now if you're worth $100 a minute, let's just use that number. And you wasted 3 hours on something that you shouldn't be involved in, you lost $18,000. How are you going to get it back? You can't, because you got 1,440 minutes in a day. You'll never get that back. So what are you going to do now? I was like, that just got real.
Yeah. Or you're even every other resource that we have is renewable. Our food, money, the clothes we wear, products we use, that's all renewable. Time is not.
And it is the greatest currency which people don't get. They are looking at cash as the currency. Time is the currency. There are people who woke up and didn't have 1,440 minutes today. There are people that woke up that were not well and could not do certain things. So that is the greatest currency in the world. It's time. And it's your friend if you want to be friends with it.
Sure.
Instead of fighting it and wanting to manage to do all of this other stuff, master it and go with the flow.
Yeah. All right. So if someone was listening, looks successful outside, but inside, like things feel off. Like it's especially at that later stage of life, right? Where a lot of people get to, they're like, they got all this success and it looks great. They got the corner office. What's the first step toward their encore moment?
To recognize what they're afraid. I'll use an analogy. My grandmother one time, I said to her, is this all there is? And we were on the back porch. She said, no, but we've given you everything. Now you go take it and run with it. And when she said that, everything fell apart, of course. And I asked her, she said, well, that's part of running with it. Did you not understand? That's the wisdom of it. You got to get the courage to get back up and keep going. We've already done it. It's your turn. And that's what I'm saying in your encore. You've done everything. You might be a little tired. You might be whatever's going on in your head. Sift that stuff out. Move away the noise and look in your heart and say, what does my heart really want? And then own that and go towards it. Buy the book. The Encore Playbook is on Amazon.com. You could come to my website, paulawashington.com, and set up a free strategy call. I'll be glad to help. But you own that, because you have to exit all of the things in here. And then everything else starts to get really clear. You'll start to see like a meadow or whatever your vision is. I like nature, so I love to see oceans and meadows and things like that. Whatever it is you open up to see, you'll be surprised when your heart is showing.
That's powerful. And what I'm hearing is the encore isn't an end,
Right.
it's a deeper, more profound beginning.
Absolutely.
You just allow yourself to take, like the small child, take that first step.
Exactly.
You might fall down. You might drop everything that was put in your arms to carry. Like the story you said about your aunt, I don't remember, was it grandma or mother? When you were sitting on the porch, the story
Oh, yes. With my grandmother. Yeah.
when your grandmother said, "All right, we've run our race. It's your turn." And you mentioned, like feeling like you dropped everything.
Because everything fell apart. Well,
Well,
not supposed to be this way, you know. And that is exactly true, because when you have an encore on stage, you complete the show. That's the first journey of your life.
right.
Then everybody likes it. They're clapping and they're calling encore. That means they want you to come back again. Well, you have to walk from the back of the stage all the way to the front to receive the applause, to receive the honor. Now that is a journey. That is that is a
Yeah,
journey.
it's a journey, and I've seen it's something that brings up fear for some.
Exactly. Because sometimes they're not sure, are they going to get flowers when they get to that front of that stage? Or are they
Or
going to
tomatoes.
or tomato? Exactly. But on the cover of the book that I created, um, the lights are there and everybody's clapping and everything. And she's standing there and she's poised because she's not concerned who's on the other side. So when you really are holding your own microphone and you really are standing center stage in your life, you're not concerned about who's in front applauding you, because you're happy, overjoyed, and satisfied within. You've arrived where you wanted to be.
That's perfect. And before we close, I'd I'd love for listeners to pause on this. If your first act was about proving, we've demonstrated your encore is about becoming. It's about stepping into who you are at your core, who you're supposed to be,
Yes.
and just owning it, for you can stand on that stage and you're like, I'm here. Whatever comes, I'm here. I can handle it. If it's tomatoes or if it's flowers, I'm ready. I can deal with it. The truth is, if you've set yourself up right and you've done the work, it's not going to be tomatoes, right?
Absolutely. It really isn't. They're going to be so happy you're there because your audience is waiting for your voice. Your clients are waiting for you to show up. Your family, your great grandchildren or grandchildren are waiting for you to do something that they could talk about to give them something to hold on to.
Right. Yeah. And I've talked about this before. Your legacy, like you talked about your children, your grandchildren, it's not this grand act.
No, it
It's
is.
built one tiny decision at a time. Paula, I just want to thank you for coming. Thank you for modeling what it looks like to lead from true wholeness and embody what I call embody confidence and congruence. You've already mentioned it. So your book's on Amazon, the Encore Playbook, and your website, paulawashington.com, which I will include in the show notes.
Okay.
Is there any other contact information that you want to add?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm also on YouTube as at Paula Washington. It's Paula capital W Washington on YouTube. It's so funny because Denzel Washington's wife always pops up when my name comes up. So I have to make sure I say my name exactly the way it is. And so I'm there. You can find me, and I'm on the Instagram at I am Paula Washington. So
I'll include all those in the show notes for sure. Make it simple. Because I know sometimes trying to catch an address on a video is like, what did it say?
Once you turn it off, it's gone.
Yeah.
So.
So once again, thank you very much for your time, your energy, your sharing. It's very powerful. And if you're listening and this conversation sparked something in you, maybe that quiet voice that says, there's more. I'm meant for more. Maybe you don't know how to name it yet. Reach out to Paula. Her links are in the show notes. Reach out to me, book your no-cost identity clarity call, and let's talk about what's driving you and how you can align your ambition so that it's fuel instead of a drain. Right? As we said before, right, Paula? Time is your currency, and we'll all get the same amount every day.
Yes.
The choice comes down to how will you use that currency? No one's rich, no one's poor. So this is Daily Power Boost Beyond the Boost. Remember, the encore doesn't start when the world claps for you again. It starts when you decide you're done performing and you're ready to live in alignment. Thanks again, Paula.
You're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.